And without further ado, we are here with a combat veteran, Major Singh Toor. Hello, sir.
Hi, Patrick. How are you?
Great.
Nice meeting you.
Very nice to meet you. I'm
Yes.
very glad you were gracious enough to come let us interview you today to show my viewers a little bit of information from the point of view of a combat veteran. We've been trying to get as many different points of view on the situation as possible, and I think you're going to be a very good asset to the knowledge of my viewers and myself, of course. Could you tell our viewers about yourself a bit?
Well, firstly, to begin with, I'd give the credit to Patrick Lancaster. Please go to his YouTube channel. And the kind of coverage that you have done in the proper war zone, I think the more we praise you, the less it is, because the kind of risk that you've taken, it's a very huge responsibility to get the truth to the global audience with an impartial view. And that is one of the major reasons why I agreed that, Patrick Lancaster is coming. I said straight away that yes, I am going to do this interview with you, and it's an honor. So I am Major Samar Toor, and I have put in 11 years of service, and out of 11 years, I've seen active combat for up to 8 years non-stop. So I have had a very, as a youngster who joins the military, they often pray that, they wish to see action. But probably when I introspect and I go back in time, I feel I asked for something a bit too much. And probably I think the only way in the world in today's time is to wish for a peaceful world, a world with in which negotiation and diplomacy takes the front role, and combat would probably be the last resort, the last alternative. And you see, there are no winners in war, because either of the sides, it's the soldier and the soldier's families who suffer, and the civilians suffer. So it is, the political parties have to play a very mature role in today's times. And as Prime Minister Modi said, that this is not an era of war. We are done with the era of war in World War II, and this is the time where one needs to sit and negotiate and talk the differences out. But just in case, there are few countries who are just very aggressive. They're very adamant. They are very imposing. They challenge the sovereignty of a certain country at times. And once the limits are crossed, yes, then one has no choice but to enforce peace by force. So sadly, it has come to that. You see Azerbaijan, Armenia. Nagorno-Karabakh was a 26-year-old issue. And with the drone warfare, I think it got resolved with a very decisive victory by Azerbaijan. But though I am not a very big fan of Azerbaijan, and what the Armenians faltered was that they took peace for granted with Azerbaijan. And Azerbaijan struck at a time with the right tools, probably the drones, which made a difference. And probably that model was adopted in the Russia-Ukraine war, as you know it better than me, because you've been in the war front there and faced the drones, Patrick.
Yes, sir. First of all, you're very gracious for your comments about my work, but you are 100% right. Actually, I was in Nagorno-Karabakh as well.
Okay.
And that was the first time I really experienced the overwhelming psychological effect of these drones that are over you, hunting the people around you. Yeah. And it was really such a different war, because at that time I had been on the ground covering the Ukraine conflict for 6 years, and there was always a sense that, okay, I know the threats in that direction, as you know. So if I'm near this wall or this tree or this hard surface in a certain way, I know I have a little bit of control of
self-protection.
I can keep my mind in the game and reduce the risk. Operation risk management.
Yes.
And drones just take that away from you.
Away.
You just don't have that control anymore. You're just totally vulnerable. And it's such, I mean, just me as a journalist, the hardest thing is going back and forth to the front line in the car. As we discussed, I've almost lost my life just on the road leaving the front line several times. So it's just an overwhelming, as you know better than me, the effect of drone warfare on today's military conflicts across the world. And just we see what's happened in the last 4 years. Imagine what's going to be in 2 years. It's so intense.
I mean, like now with the present situation of what sadly took place, a very dastardly attack took place on the 22nd of April, where 26 tourists, including one citizen of Nepal, were massacred. And you see, it's not that we've not been attacked earlier. We've been attacked many times earlier. Since 2004, there was a Kaluchak massacre where they killed the servicemen's family members, 36 of them. And that was a triggering point. It was called the Kaluchak massacre in Jammu. Then we had the Pathankot attack on our Air Force base. Again, we have handed over dossiers, evidences, audio recordings, satellite intercepts of communications to the Pakistanis every time. But it has always fallen on deaf ears. They've failed to act against the perpetrators, Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar, Sayyid Salahuddin. You know, these are the three most wanted terrorists of Pakistan by India. And there have been a number of negotiations. There have been talks. Talks have fallen apart because of Pakistan not handing over these, radicals to India. And these are the main, you could say, the factories of, radicalization in Pakistan. And then they have Dawood Ibrahim, another person who was wanted for the bombing, serial bombing of Bombay in 92-93, where more than 100 people lost their lives. Mm-hmm. So you see, and then this was like the end of the threshold, because the way the attack was carried out, I mean, they were ethnic cleansing took place probably. That is the exact term that I can use over here. They went in, it was a tourist location, it was a hub of tourists. They categorically segregated the Hindus from the Muslims, and then they executed them point blank. And first they told them, okay, you recite a kalma, a verse from the Quran. Those who were not able to do so, they were, shot in the head in front of their daughters, their wives, their sisters, their relatives. These were unarmed family members who'd gone for a vacation in the largest democracy of the world, India. So you see, when such horrific and horrendous acts of terror take place, then the self-conscious tells you that this is it. Either be killed or you kill the perpetrators. So India has now come to a standpoint where we have decided that we are ready to give up our lives, but we have to put an end to this menace of terrorism. And what was the most derogatory thing was, they were literally those who were able to recite the kalma. They were still not convinced that they were, Muslims, and they were trying to, hide as Hindus. And they made them strip their pants to check whether they are circumcised or not. Mm-hmm. And they did it with everybody, all the 26 all 26 victims.
Okay, I was thinking maybe it was just some.
No.
And people who were there some Muslims who weren't.
There were Muslims amongst these 26 people who went to grab the rifle. Mm-hmm. These were the local resident Muslims there, And they went to grab the rifle and tried to tell the terrorists, don't do this, this is wrong. You're doing it in the name of religion, don't do this. And that is where even the Muslims were shot. So amongst the 26, we had up to 1 to 2 Muslims, locals there. So, I mean, there is a reason why India is called, the largest democracy. We are secular. We have troops of all religions together, protecting our motherland. And, I mean, such horrific acts are only going to unify us and make us more determined to hit the enemy back. It's not going to be something which is going to be disadvantageous to us, but it is going to be, devastating at a biblical scale for the, opposing and the attacking terrorist factions and the backers and the supporters. Yes.
The comments.
Yes.
Okay, now you say these terrorist factions, but in your opinion, where is the cutaway or the divide between the terrorist organizations and the Pakistani government?
See, now I'll tell you. Let's go back to history, 1989. The Soviets entered Afghanistan to take over the Afghan region, okay? That is where the CIA comes in. It says, okay, we are going to set up a fighting force. So they include ISI, that is the secret agency of Pakistan. They say, okay, your army regulars are not going to get involved in this because Pakistan was in denial. They said, we will not intervene militarily because they don't have the resources or the manpower. So ISI and the CIA sat down together and they said, let us use the Mujahideens. So Mujahid is a term called, so Patrick, Mujahideen is a term which denotes a warrior. So to set up an effective guerrilla force which could adopt a hit and run tactic, which was basically very effective in the terrain of Afghanistan, because it's a mountainous terrain, number one. Number two, there is lack of vegetation. So there are basically tunnel networks in the mountains where you have the only place to hide. So you cannot move openly in the terrain because it's very treacherous. So even if you're taking a convoy over there, it will take a number of hours to, do one route of 40 kilometers, which would rather, usually take up to, 1 hour to 1.5 to 2 hours in an urban environment with, hard top metal roads. In Afghanistan, the road networks are very bad. You have, the unmetalled, unconstructed roads. So and there's no rain as well. So it's all rocky. So, there's a very limited space for cover. So that is where, they used to Mujahideen used to wait for the bends or the curves where the convoy used to slow down in speed. That is where they used to ambush most of the Russian forces. Mm-hmm. So eventually in Afghanistan, when enduring freedom and the operations in Afghanistan began against terrorism, these were the same Mujahideens who were there in the early 90s, who, threw the, Soviets away. And then it was basically the ISI playing double standards. That whenever a convoy of NATO with supplies used to leave from Islamabad to Kabul, there used to be attacks on these convoys. And all these were orchestrated by, these black ops carried out by ISI against the Americans. So ISI played smart that to be in good terms with the terrorists, they favored them by giving them inputs about these convoys and the movements. And you see, if you connect the dots, negligible casualties took place of Pakistani soldiers who used to give security to these convoys. Mm-hmm. And, Pakistan military and the ISI have blood of American soldiers on their hands. They have blood of the British soldiers on their hands. But what intrigues me and what astonishes me is the mindset of the Trump administration towards Pakistan. I mean, it's a Islamic country with a nuclear weapon. I mean, let's sit on the table and talk. I think Saddam Hussein would have been a very lesser threat compared to these fanatics. I mean, why did we do the pinpoint deep strikes in Pakistan to call off the nuclear bluff? That whenever things used to begin going out of hand, right from the defense minister to the president to the prime minister used to say, if India does this, if India does that, then we're going to press the nuclear button. But now that the threshold has been crossed, we as Indians, the largest democracy in the world, is saying, yes, bring it on. Why don't you not press the button then? I mean, you cannot support terrorism against the largest democracy in the world and simultaneously give threats, that to nuclear threats. And it is evidently clear that the defense minister of Pakistan gave a statement on the Western television media that they have been doing this dirty work for the West since the mid-80s. Yes. And he categorically mentioned for the Americans and the British. And I mean, it was a statement of reckoning. It was a big statement that will have very large implications in times to come.
And at the same time, also threatening Armageddon, basically, if Pakistan's existence is threatened.
I mean, Patrick, there have been studies of a nuclear flashpoint between India and Pakistan, where in case, if Pakistan, see, we have a doctrine in which we have no first use policy. So it is imminent that for India, we will be the first, in terms of humanity, to second after Japan, to get hit with the nuke, in case the aggressor wishes to do so.
You think that will happen?
I can't say. I just can't say. I don't know the mindset. I mean, don't you see that the Pakistan political regime is so unstable? So unstable. You've had martial law twice. You've had political parties that do not last for more than 3 years. They are, they fail to complete a term. And if they're doing well, then the corruption charges come in. Then the prime minister is arrested. I mean, just look at Imran Khan, one of the most respected sportspersons in the world. Now the prime minister. Just see what they've done to him. They've done his character assassination. I mean, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf political party has been fighting it out, and there have been so much of political arrests. PTI political leaders have been arrested openly by the military. There have been executions. And not only this, Patrick, I mean, let's move to Balochistan. I mean, if Pakistan wants to set up their CPEC, that is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, kindly go ahead. But you cannot start ethnically cleansing a tribe or a group of people who are en route the CPEC. The fight for the Balochistan people are fighting it out because their land, ancestral land, their resources, you are mining in their area, you are plundering the resources of their ancestors, you are not providing any employment to the Baloch people, there are very less, medical facilities, there are no roads over there, there is no basic infrastructure to supply water or electricity, there are, out of 24 hours, there are, almost 20 hours of electricity cuts. Then you are giving them the electricity bills with exaggerated taxes, which they are not able to pay, they are arrested. At night, the Pakistani police and the frontier corps, the local armies, they are, dead drunk in the middle of the night. They go knocking at the doors and they literally randomly kidnap young girls. Since 2013, they have actually wiped out one full generation of young boys. There have been mass graves. There were few documentaries of truck drivers who used to drive these flatbed trucks with containers on top. They have given accounts of these containers filled with young boys from the age of 7 to the age of 25. They've been taken to secluded and deserted patches, and they have been shot point blank in the containers. And there are few places where the JCBs have dug up the ground, and the containers with the dead Baloch males have been buried into the ground. Full containers. And they've been burnt.
Now, how much of that do you think might be an exaggeration? And
it's not exaggeration, because I saw for a limited period of time on YouTube initially when these documentaries came, and they were removed almost within a matter of weeks or months from YouTube. Because see, the national television of Pakistan would never cover all this. These were individual journalists, honest and upright and daring journalists like how you are, who took this initiative, went deep inside Balochistan to find out what's happening. And when these reports came out, either the journalists were terminated, or they were expelled from Pakistan, or else their intelligence agencies quietened them up and ousted them, spoke to their countries, told their embassies that this guy's visa is revoked, they will never be able to enter Pakistan again. Only because they tried to uncover the truth for the Balochistan people. And Mehram Baloch is there. They've arrested her. They put her behind bars. And I mean, they are right. They see, in your locality, if a firm comes, a multinational company comes, you expect your area to grow with that company coming and settling near your population. Employment, you would expect employment. You would expect decent salary so that the population standard of living goes up, and everybody is economically, financially well off. Standard of living is good, the environment is good, the children are able to go to better schools for better education. Benefit for everyone. But Balochistan, it is otherwise. And what the Chinese do is, wherever they go, wherever they set up their industry, they say the labor is going to be only Chinese labor. So what they do is they keep the Chinese money within China by employing their own local labor. And you see, countries are falling for the Chinese contracts and projects because they are cheap, they are labor intensive. And what does China have to offer today? They have the labor, which is, dirt cheap labor. I mean, if you are spending $600 for manufacturing a product, the Chinese will manufacture that same product in under $100. And they're done and dusted. So the main company or the multinational company who's going to, distribute these products are getting heavy profits. And basically, Patrick, what China has done is China has weaponized its industry, especially the labor industry. It has set up industries at such cheap rates that the countries have eventually fallen into the debt trap, because they realize that whatever they're paying China remains in China. There is no local employment. There is no local circulation of the money for these projects, and they are totally Chinese centric. Even for the maintenance contracts, it's purely Chinese. Whereas they should outsource it to the country which has actually taken that contract, given that contract to China. I mean, look at South Sudan. All the road constructions are being done by China. all the ports on River Nile are being done by China. And what has the Chinese negotiated? They have told President Salva Kiir that, we are going to provide you everything at dirt cheap labor. And so President Salva Kiir is hand in glove with the Chinese companies, and there is no South Sudanese labor in these camps. And in return, what did China ask? For the oil fields. So majority of the South Sudanese oil is going to China. It has hijacked this resource, this global resource, which everybody should be having access to, has been taken over by China. And you see, Patrick, to some extent, I hold the Americans also at fault. I mean, I understand you are you're a powerful country. You're leading a global, mindset for development and democracy. It's good. But then, in the name of democracy and a developed nation, you cannot make your population sit at ease and be relaxed. You cannot afford to outsource every industry to the Chinese. I mean, everything has been outsourced to China. As a result, you see the automobile industry of America it's suffering. The electronics industry of America is suffering. I mean, just God forbid, if China today takes a stance and says, we are not going to produce anything now, what the Americans have told us to produce. Now, see one thing. When you tell a country to produce a certain good, you transfer somehow the technology, and when you know that the Chinese are best at reverse engineering, you still took the risk and gave all your production contracts to the Chinese. Why? I mean, weren't the political advisors not aware of this fact that this could be coming? And this is what has taken its toll now. This is the major reason that the Chinese have access to they have reverse engineered everything. I mean, whatever their stealth 6th generation aircraft that they talk about, it's all been reverse engineered. It's the almost similar design to the F-47 that President Trump had unveiled. Mm-hmm. I mean, the F-35, that's what their 5th generation fighter is that they have now. Mm-hmm. So there was so much of intellectual property theft from China that today, even if Apple is opted out from China, I mean, the production is shifted to India now entirely. But you see, China is not ethically upright. They will continue to make duplicate copies of the iPhone, and they will distribute it to all the countries at a much lower rate compared to what the American rates are of an actual iPhone, with another name or with a manipulated logo. I mean, there's nothing that one can do about it. I mean, BYD, it's an electronic vehicle company of China. I am disturbed because the dealership of these EV companies are now coming into India. And I will not be surprised that these vehicles are being used for electronically mapping India. Road by road, inch by inch. And God forbid, if any of these vehicles are purchased by a high-ranking military official who has access to sensitive locations, what if these vehicles are parked at these locations? They would definitely have satellite access to the chipset and the GPS of these vehicles. I mean, it's an era of technology. I am into the drone industry and the company is Zulu Defense. And we are basically into manufacturing kamikaze drones, reconnaissance drones, payload dropping drones, ammunition payload dropping drones as well, and state of the art. And we are into the stealth technology, which is most of it is classified. We do not discuss We do not advertise our product because it is of very critical military importance. So, and the best part is that we are following one thumb rule, that is Make in India. Atmanirbhar Bharat means a self-dependent India.
So the
Self-reliant India.
Indigenous.
Indigenous, yes.
Your company is indigenous drones.
Yes, entirely indigenous. We are not allowed even a single chip to be used of Chinese origin. Because a single element of Chinese origin and the company gets blacklisted. So India is taking its own time, yes, with deliberation, but we are ensuring that we are self-reliant. We are not dependent on somebody else. So Atmanirbhar Bharat means self-reliant. So you see, our indigenous system have come into effect, like the war, the 4-day war, Op Sindoor. There is a tactical pause right now because me being from the military and have seen active combat, this is a tactical waiting period right now. Because you see, on the 27th of April, the Pakistanis received a consignment of 50,000 kamikaze drones from China. Then the export variant of the PL-15E missile was so claimed that was given to Pakistan, but the PL-15E variant, the export variant, has a limitation of the kilometer range. And the ones that we shot down in India, intact, the PL-15 missiles, were not the export variant. They were the actual Chinese variant with a range of up to 200 to 300 kilometers. They were not of 120 or 150 kilometers. They were beyond 200 kilometers. And all these were duds. They've been shot down. And if you see, the stock market of a company called Chengdu is plummeted, is drastically plummeted. So these were the defense companies which had provided Pakistan the military equipment, including the JF-17, which was again shot down. The video is there. I have the video as evidence with me. It's there on open source, it's available. And the Pakistanis agreed that 2 JF-17s have been shot down. As far as India is concerned, see, what Pakistan claims is that the Rafale was shot down. My argument is, so what? So what? We don't have to go and take loans from people and buy military equipment. We can afford it, we'll go and buy. Mr. Trump has offered us the F-35. We can walk up to them and say, okay, give us these many F-35. We are in good terms with President Vladimir Putin. He said you can buy our Su-57s. We'll go up to the Russians and say, okay, give us these many Su-57s. I mean, it's not a big deal. And moreover, when a country is at war, a responsible country would never admit to its own collaterals. Why would we do that? And such unprofessionalism. You see the briefing of the Pakistan's DGMO, you will laugh it out. You literally laugh it out. That they lack technical acumen, they lack the basic things of a presentation, how to put it across. They are lacking satellite imagery, they are lacking evidence, they have nothing. I mean, one of the Western media channels asked the defense minister that your claim is that you've downed around 4 to 5 Indian military jets. Where is the proof? He says, check on social media. I mean, when you are at such a responsible position of a country as a defense minister or a military personnel in active service, you cannot give such unwarranted and immature statements. I mean, look at the DGMO presentation from India. We've given with satellite proof, satellite imageries, before and after. And that sums it up.
Yeah, the exact location.
Exactly, exactly.
Yes.
And see, as far as the Kirana Hills is concerned, the nuclear installations getting hit by the BrahMos missiles and everything, I think it would be little immature on my part to give a comment because the government has not come out
That was
open.
my next question.
Yes,
about
yes, the government has not come out in the open to admit it. But as a veteran, I can just assure one thing, Patrick, that if we can reach the gates of a nuclear facility, so they should not have any wrong notion that we cannot strike their nuclear assets,
Yes.
which they have taken the world peace at ransom. They've taken us at large. They've kidnapped this narrative that if you try to go against terrorism, if you try to fight for your sovereignty, then we are going to press that button. So probably this was the reply, that see the deep strike precision guided capability that we have, equivalent to what Americans did in Enduring Freedom. I remember that night when Baghdad was bombed by missiles,
I was on the USS Kitty Hawk in the Persian Gulf.
when the missiles were launched.
Yes. I was in part of Operation Enduring Freedom.
So the visuals
Or,
that,
excuse me, not Enduring Freedom, but I was there when the missiles were launched on Iraq, not Afghanistan, but Iraq.
okay, the Gulf War,
Yeah, no, the Iraqi freedom.
Iraqi
Yes,
freedom.
Yes.
So in that, I was in college when I actually saw the live visuals of these missiles pinpointed going into the government buildings, and the people and the public were looking all around, and suddenly a missile struck their electricity grid and the whole city went dark. So that is the capability that India has showcased, that please refrain from supporting terrorists. Don't do this, or else this is the result. Now, being a largest democracy in the world, we are responsible, and our target is not the Pakistan public. I mean, in fact, all the videos that you've seen are made by the public of Pakistan who are residing near to these military bases and these air force bases. So, and out of embarrassment, Pakistan is admitted, yes, they were attacked, but they have not come out in the open about the extent of damage that they've been caused. They've lost their AWOCs, their early warning air defense systems have been taken out, their ground radars have been taken out all along the Western Front against India. They've not come out in the open to say all this. So it's basically a reply that don't push us to an extent that we, literally go in. We don't want to do that. Because India, see, we are a land of peace. Mahatma Gandhi is, our father of the nation. He was always for peace and non-violence. But simultaneously, we had, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. We had Shahid-e-Azam Bhagat Singh, a revolutionary. So, I mean, don't push us to a limit where we got to show or speak to the aggressor in the language they understand best. We are for development. We are for industrialization. We are for the public's betterment and upgradation in the standard of living, good education, and, basically progressive in nature. I mean, look at our space program. It speaks for itself. ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization. We've done the Chandrayaan mission. We've done the Moon mission. We've done the Mars mission. So we've done both Mangalyaan and Chandrayaan. Chandrayaan is the moon mission, Mangalyaan is the Mars mission. So we have the capability, we have the capacity. It is just that we do not want to come onto the world stage to make unnecessary noise. We are very focused on progress and development, especially education. There is a reason why our students go abroad to study in the most premium institutions, because they have the capability and the ability to prove themselves. I mean, if you go to Silicon Valley, look at the number of Indo-Americans who are employed in the Silicon Valley.
There's definitely in the United States a stereotype about Indians coming over being doctors and things. I mean, it's a good stereotype.
Yes.
In comparison to, of course, there's other not good stereotypes about different other types of people. But as far as Indians, definitely a positive stereotype.
I think Indians are the only citizens, I'm not saying the only, but one of the majority of the citizens, overseas citizens who pay their taxes on time, who are not involved in crime, who are, peace loving in nature, who are good contributors in terms of paying taxes and doing community service. So I don't see any headline which says that an Indian radical, was involved in some incident.
Hindu terrorism.
Yeah,
You don't
not that. And as far as Pakistan is concerned, I mean, even at the airport, if somebody says that certain person is from Pakistan, people tend to just stay away from the guy. I mean, that's the image that they've created. I mean, I feel sad to look at the visuals in UK. I at times, in a very light manner, I just do some leg pulling of my British friends by saying the Islamic Republic of Great Britain. I mean, you cannot let your culture get dissolved or diminished. Look at France. So there has to, hats off to Poland. The way Poland has protected its culture, religion, society, I salute them. That is the need of the hour today. And the sooner the West realizes, the better it is before it's too late. Before it's too late. I mean, if I have a group of 10 friends, if my first friend goes rogue, understandable. Second friend goes rogue, little concerning. Third, fourth also drift away in the wrong direction. I am morally responsible to get them back on the right track. That is not being done by that certain religion. I don't want to name religions. I don't want to stir up any controversial statement. But it is the moral duty of that certain religion to ensure that radicalization doesn't spread or take place. But it is otherwise. Keeping quiet, despite knowing that radicalization is taking place, means you are encouraging radicalization. You are in favor of radicalization. That is a clear and present threat and danger to all the other religions. And I'm telling you, it's going to get. How I see it is, it began all from Syria. That the immigrants from Syria started leaving and how the West started accepting them, there should have been a certain limitation of acceptance. They have gone beyond that. And they had to put things in check before it's too late. It's getting late. In France, look at France. More than churches, you have the mosques there. That Hebdo, that newspaper, just see the attack that took place. And it's a worrying trend now. It's a worrying trend. Look at Israel. Israel is surrounded by all hostile nations. But now Syria has surprisingly come up with a peace deal with Israel. And the ideal example that I would want to give the West is that they are heading the Lebanon's way. Lebanon at one point of time was a Christian majority, thriving, doing well with all the industrial revolution, with the French in charge. It was the place to be, at one point of time. And with the majority, with a certain religion getting, overpopulated, radicalization started taking place. Beirut lost its reputation because of Operation Entebbe and kidnappings and everything that began. Because they all had connections to Lebanon, the Black September.
If we could maybe back up just a little bit to possibly considered some uncomfortable questions. One you've already addressed. I wanted to ask you about the possible reported targeting of a military or nuclear storage facility. You've already stated your statements on that. Next is you refer to not being against the Pakistan people in India. What do you have to say about the suspension of the Indus Treaty and how that might affect the restriction of water might affect and will affect the people of Pakistan?
Patrick, the IWT, in Indus Water Treaty, now I term it as India's war on terror. Because blood and water will not flow together. I mean, I have lost boys in combat. In these bare hands, I've seen what combat is. It's unforgiving. It's ruthless. It's traumatizing. The memories don't leave you. You remember everything by the minute, by the second, by the date, even till the time you reach your grave. These memories haunt you and they carry along with you. And you see, the Indus Water Treaty goes through the mainland of Pakistan, Punjab, which is the most rich and fertile land. And with the abeyance of the Indus Water Treaty, 90% of the Pakistan's agricultural produce is going to go dead by the end of December or by January. And there will be famine. Because you see, we were not in favor of this. We never wanted to stop the water. It's inhuman. But the activities that they are doing, is that human? Is that civilized?
But you yourself said it's not against, not the people. So.
But then the people of Pakistan have not been effective in removal of these politicians. I mean, the politicians are the reflection of the country's people. If a Pakistan politician says that they are at war with India, means it is as good as the people of Pakistan are in agreement with the politician because they have selected him. They have voted for him. So, all for one and one for all. That is what we've been suffering, These 26 families, how do we face them? What do we tell the widows and the orphaned daughters and the sons in front of whom they were massacred and killed? We have nothing to give any clarification. What do we say? We are fuming with anger and we are doing these things so that the people of Pakistan take a firm stand and select appropriate leaders who are by, of and for the people. We have seen they have a history of martial law. They have a very unstable government. I mean, you had, Yahya Khan, then you had Pervez Musharraf. I mean, Pervez Musharraf still, he took over from Nawaz Sharif. Now the present political party is again of Nawaz Sharif. Nawaz Sharif's younger brother, Shehbaz Sharif, is the one who is interview is going on, bache. Very nice, very nice. You played? Okay, now you go. Have water. Okay? Yeah. Bye. So it is the responsibility of the people of Pakistan to put pressure on the government, to put pressure on the politicians. And I was bewildered to know that Asif Munir has been appointed as field marshal, and you are a field marshal for life. You do not retire from that rank. So it is like Iran's ulema, the Khamenei. So how Khamenei, the Khalifa, has got a stronghold now for a lifetime in Iran. He has ensured his stronghold in the top military brass of Pakistan by becoming the field marshal. So any military decision now that takes place will be with the consent of Asif Munir for as long as he wants. So any Pakistan military chief being appointed as military chief wouldn't have much relevance anymore, because whatever he would say or any plan he would want to put out on the table would be overturned by Asif Munir. Now let me tell you, Asif Munir,
dictator within the military.
Exactly. And the rank of the field marshal secures him legally to maintain his position and his interference in military matters against India. I mean, just see, Pakistan is at the brink of an economic disaster. It cannot afford a war. Still, they opted to, go to war with us.
Well,
I mean, which country would back a terrorist organization? I mean, we thought that, we declaring war on terrorism by Prime Minister Modi would have compelled the Pakistan forces to have taken action against these terrorist tanzeems. Whereas the opposite happened. They gave a statement threatening India along with their nuclear weapons. So, what did Prime Minister Modi say? We are declaring war against terrorists, their perpetrators, and their backers. And the whole world knows, Patrick, where Osama bin Laden was found. Operation Neptune Spear, books have been written, documentaries have been made. It is evidently clear which country has been encouraging terrorism right from the end of 80s. So it is high time that, President Trump calls a spade, and I think International Atomic Energy Committee, IAEA, Atomic Energy Agency, should get involved in monitoring the Pakistan nuclear program, because it's a radicalized country which is on the edge of losing control. Asif Munir has studied in a madrasa. He's a radicalized guy. He has two real brothers. They are also into the teaching line. One of them is a retired teacher. One is still teaching in a university. And he himself has studied in the madrasa as a child. So he's already radicalized. So I think it's a treat for any terrorist organization to come to Pakistan and stay as a guest over there. You know it, I know it, the world knows it. But I think it's time that India calls out the bluff and I know it's going to be ugly, it's going to be bad, but either it's now or it's going to be never. And with the drone warfare coming in, it's going to be a non-contact warfare, NCW. It's going to be a non-contact warfare. Attrition rates are going to be high. The body counts are going to be continuous. And there has to be a decisive action from India as a democracy.
And when will that be?
I think it's a matter of time, Patrick. It's just a matter of time. I think probably we are tactically taken a pause to just get our stuff more deliberately in place, like how we did the precise pinpoint strikes against Pakistan. So probably we have more surprises with new weapon systems, something called DEW, direct energy weapons. So, I mean, there is a lot to tell about the laser and the microwave technologies, but these are still, under wrap. I will not be in a position to speak much about it, though I'm well aware of it, and the firm in which I am, we are actively dealing and making stuff related to this. So, this is all futuristic equipment that we are now going to put in place. But unlike Israel, Israel faltered by depending on machines. Here we will still involve soldiers on ground to operate actively these weapon systems. And even if we get assistance with these weapon systems, we will still ensure that there is troop deployment to double ensure that there is no infiltration by the terrorists on Indian land. But you see, there are limitations. Mountain warfare, you've served in the military. Mountains eat up manpower. So every spur, every climb, every ridge line has a different difficulty level of climb and descent. And it requires more manpower to be deployed. So end of the day, that human element is not going to get away. It will always be involved. And see, warfare, look at space. Like, now let's connect the dots. This is going to be interesting for the audience. China launches a 10G network, which is 5 times more efficient than the Starlink. It has launched 1 month ago a similar network to Starlink in space. China has its independent space station, and when this war has started now in Ops Sindoor, every evening from 7:30 onwards, the drones from Pakistan used to start flying into India at an altitude of 1.5 kilometers, that is 1500 meters and beyond. So they were away from the small arms fire, and they have been continuously mapping the area, the Indian territories. And what logically I feel is that China is mapping our terrain and going to give this data to Pakistan for pinpoint precise missile attacks for the future. And there have been drones which have been shot down, which are of Turkish origin. They have these motorized engines in these drones, and they are filled with petrol, and they have a range of up to 400 kilometers. So they can penetrate 200 kilometers and fly back 200 kilometers at an altitude which is beyond 1.5 to 2 kilometers above. And they have the inertial navigation system, which is directly linked to the satellites. So you put it on autonomous mode and assign it the waypoints for mapping. It can do that. Secondly, if they find a Indian asset of high value, they'll probably launch that drone in a kamikaze way into that target. which they have failed to do so far. But we know the intent, we know their heinous designs and plans, and we are actively working in deployment of direct energy weapon systems, which are mainly laser based because they are cheap and affordable, and they can see, as far as the swarm drones are concerned, if you take a single rock and you try to throw it at a target, there are 100% chances whether you'll hit it, and there are 100% chances that you'll miss it. But if you throw a handful of pebbles onto the target, there is going to be some collateral onto the target, 100%. So India is not in denial that if there is a swarm drone attack, we have to be in acceptance of the collateral damages that we will take, but the damage that we are going to do is going to be at a very enormous scale. I'm not going to use the word biblical, no, but it's going to be a drastic hit. It's going to shake them up in and out. And Indians have made up their mind, we are ready to sacrifice ourselves. Because there is no point sitting in defense. And we've spoken for 2-3 decades now. We've handed over, the Mumbai attacks, 26/11. You heard of the Taj attack. We've given them dossiers, we've given them evidence, we've given them the audio recordings by satellite, everything. And imagine the US has handed over Takeover Rana, an ex-military officer of Pakistan who was involved in planning of the 26/11 attacks. He's been deported from US to India now. So it is, the West knows it, India knows it, the European Union knows it, Iran knows it, all the other countries in the world know it. I think it's time that, either we put sanctions on Pakistan, economical sanctions, because I don't think there is any other alternative peaceful method left to teach Pakistan a lesson.
Understand. And everyone talks about the conflicts directly between India and Pakistan. But what about the people in the middle? That obviously there's been conflicts, this region, Kashmir, for so long now. What do you have to say about what these people want, and about the accusations of somewhat discrimination and other rights violations, human right violations?
Now, Patrick, you are in India. I insist you visit Kashmir. You go to all the places, you go to the mosques. Everyone has total freedom of movement. They have all their fundamental rights. They are thriving. They are earning well. They have their businesses. Their children are studying in one of the best institutions in India and abroad. And the Kashmiri people were so happy till this attack took place. Because majority of the businesses thrives on tourism. And that is exactly where the Pakistan terrorists selected to hit. Where it hurts most.
I promise you, sir, I'm definitely going to go and show my audience exactly what the people have to say and show them everything I can about the situation.
Exactly. I mean,
so my audience doesn't have to hear things secondhand. It's horrible to only be able to see things secondhand. I want to show my audience what the real situation is.
Exactly. I mean, I want you to visit the tourist places. I want you to have the best of cuisines. And you see, there is no restriction of movement anywhere in India. It's a total free country, a democratic country. And, the highest railway bridge in India is in Kashmir. Now there is a railway line connecting New Delhi to Srinagar. Like right from 4,000 meters, you're reaching up to almost 10,000, 11,000 in altitude. You have the best of tunnel networks in the mountains, so that 365 days a year, that connectivity remains. So India has done so much, and so much of prosperity and development for the people of the whole nation. I would not just say Kashmir. See, the reason why Kashmir gets irked up every time is being brought up in UN and all other forums is that Pakistan lost East Pakistan, which is Bangladesh today, in 1971. My grandfather fought in that war. There were 93,000 Pakistani senior officers, warrant officers, and soldiers who were arrested. They were kept here for 2 years, till the time the peaceful sendback was organized to Pakistan. That irks Pakistan till date.
It was the biggest surrender since World War II, correct?
And that pinches them, and that is why their two generations have come into existence, and it still irks them that no, we got to take back the revenge by the Kashmir rhetoric. And they have openly given statements, bleed India by 1,000 cuts. And they had this Hurriyat leaders planted from Pakistan into India politically, and they had caused a lot of disturbances in our nation. And the only reason why we let things happen was because we were a democracy. That let's give peace a chance. Let's do it in a democratic way, which was not so by what happened on 22nd of April. And it's been an attack on the sovereignty of India. It's been an attack on the unification of India. They have not only, majority of them were Hindus, and the terrorist who was executing these innocent people told the widows that go tell this to Modi. This is a message for him. And see, you can't provoke, you can't do this. This is inhuman. It's incorrect. And if a country is pushed beyond limits, then you've witnessed what they've got back in return. And we've still not hit the public infrastructure. No electricity grids, no oil refineries, no industrial areas, no civil airstrips were hit. Only military, just and pure military targets.
And on that, the infrastructure, the reports of the 20% of the Air Force infrastructure
is damaged. Yes.
Doesn't that seem a bit exaggerated, possibly?
See, Patrick.
Just with those few sites, 9 sites.
See, you have the freedom to travel to any country in the world. I insist that you go to Pakistan after your India tour, and you insist the Pakistani authorities to take you to these affected areas, or you interact with the Pakistan public, you gather the outsource in OS which are available online, and then you go verify in Pakistan yourself. I am not going to say a word. You go there on ground and check. You will see the government will put restrictions on your travel. You will have a government official right on your head accompanying you everywhere. If you'll ask him, why are you with me? Leave me alone. They say, no, sir. The government has said, I'm here to look after you, take care of you, to provide you security. Why do you need security if it's a free and a fair country and a safe country? You don't need any government people accompanying you. Now you're roaming, you're here in India, you're going independently, right?
Yeah.
There's nobody to assist. I mean, you have all the technology and everything, and you have the help desks to go to people and interact. So India's a free country. So you go to Pakistan, you'll get to know.
Yeah. Do you think they would allow me to come after being
After the Indian visa, they'll have, instead of one, they'll have 4 or 5 people around you, tailing you and everything. There is a difference. There's a very prominent difference. I mean, the world is going to watch this documentary, and they'll be witness to it, and you can put in few visuals in between this for people for a better understanding. But at the moment, the effective weapon that we have is the nullifying of the Indus Water Treaty, which would bring their head on their shoulders, would let them think in a balanced way.
And you say by winter that will create a famine. Now, is that going to make a knee-jerk reaction that will make this escalate intensely?
Isn't it not already?
Everything can get a lot worse, I think.
Isn't it already worse? How worse can it get beyond this?
Well,
When you question-
I hope we don't see it.
No, when you're questioning that what more, I am asking, is there anything left beyond this?
Nuclear war.
I mean, we don't think about it because we have a policy of no first use. So we are not bothered about the nuclear thing. Because one thing is imminent. If they strike us back, we have the capability to strike back. They are going to be wiped out. You really think a country would take a risk of getting itself wiped out from the map of the earth? Do you really think that they can risk their non-existence? I doubt.
A weapon of deterrence, not use.
Exactly. And they've been insisting, weapon of use. I mean, I fail to understand. Probably they don't know the realities or the horrific consequences of nuclear radiation and what it does to the future generations. A Japanese delegation must visit Pakistan and make them understand. Americans as well. Because the word nuclear, I avoid using it. It's not good. And I think it'll be better that better sense prevails and world takes a side of democracy and freedom, that is India, and they call a spade, and we work together for eradication of terrorism from the world. We are not against any country. We are against terrorism. We are against radicalization.
Yeah, well, I think on that, unless there's anything else that you have.
There are, Patrick, many things. I mean, we'll have a part 2 also done.
Yeah, I think that would
on
be
your
wonderful.
return.
If we can, like I said, I will go to Kashmir, see what the situation is, show my audience, and
Then
come back and
yeah.
we can talk for hours. I think.
So I think in the second episode, I'll just give a prelude to the audience that it's going to be more of China, Afghanistan, Iran, North Korea, this nexus, Russia's stance, China's mindset for Taiwan, China's mindset for India and the border disputes with India, the Chinese disputes with the Philippines in the disturbed waters, the Chinese dispute with the Japanese, role of the Quad, that is the US, Japan, Australia and India. So this one, role of Turkey, how it has started a arms race of drones, and with the new arms race, anti-satellite weapon systems coming into place. There's going to be a space arms race as well, which is about to begin. India already has anti-satellite missile systems. So the worst case scenario would be that in case if there is a huge, enormous attack of swarm drones from Pakistan, we will be compelled to take out few satellites in space. Otherwise, we'll have no alternative left.
That's definitely an escalation. Well, we can hope that somehow peace does prevail and this does not turn into the potential it could. So we can all pray to God for peace, and
pray.
we hope look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Yes.
So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
And God bless you.
God bless you as
And
well.
take care of yourself and enjoy the cuisines of Kashmir. And that you love eating non-veg, you're going to relish all the dishes. Enjoy the Dal Lake and the water houseboats. So it's going to be fun. You're going to really like the place.
Okay,
And
sir.
anything, just let me know. I'm there at beck and call. And just enjoy and make it a historical and a memorable visit.
All right, thank you, sir. I will do my best to show the world what the situation is.
Yes, however and whatever it is, keep it as it is, so for the world to watch and judge and take a call whether they want to side with the largest democratic country in the world, or they want to side with a radicalized, nuclearized country in the world which has been supporting terrorism, where Osama bin Laden was the one who was found, where the terrorists are still hiding. Imagine the Afghanistan government has been fighting the Pakistanis at their borders. They are so fed up with them on the Durand line. So we'll talk in depth in part 2.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, you hear what's going to be happening soon. We're headed to Kashmir. We're going to be showing you what it really is like there. And of course, we thank Major Singh Toor very much for his insight in the situation, in the battle, and everything he's gone through in his life. So we've got so much to come. Stick with us. You're going to be learning while I'm learning. I'm going to be showing you everything we can. And of course, as I say in every one of my reports, no matter what country I'm in, what front line I'm on, where I am, what story I'm covering, don't just watch my reports. I don't have all the answers. I'm showing you what I see with my own eyes and the people I meet. It's your job to get information from as many sources as possible, put it together in your head, think outside the box. Don't just get led by one source. Think for yourself, educate yourself, and then form your own educated opinion. Don't let people tell you what to think. No one source has all the answers. If they tell you they do, they're lying to you. Think outside the box. Please like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends about this video. They might get something out of it. And also remember, I'm a totally independent crowdfunded journalist. You can support my work by donating with the link on the screen or in the description or in the pinned comments. And also, comment below the video what you don't like about what I'm doing wrong, what I'm doing right. Correct me when I say something wrong, please. I don't know everything. I'm not the best, but I'm not the worst. So let's do it together. Let's show the world together something they might not see from my perspective, from as many different perspectives on the situation as possible. I'm Patrick Lancaster in India, trying to show you what I see here with my own eyes and the people I meet. We're out.
Wow.
Thank you very much, Major.
I'm not blind to what goes on in the world, but I really learned a lot from you.
Yes, me as well, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Patrick.
It's a
Thank you, Patrick.
masterclass.
Oh.
You know her?
Yes.
हाँ स्वाति आ रहा हूँ मुझे 5 मिनट आ गया
सर 5 मिनट नहीं स्टार्ट हो गया है
आ गया
2 मिनट
okay I have
Yeah,
to
it was
rush.
just on the other day.
And one more thing, Patrick, this you can put in the thing. There's a biopic coming on my unit called 8 Rajputana Rifles.
Oh,
And
great.
actor is John Abraham. And the movie's name is Malakal because it's named on a place in South Sudan where the unit was deployed. And we had a face-off with approximately 10,000 rebels during day on the 25th of December 2013. And we were just 400. We took in casualties. And it was like the Black Hawk Down or the 13 hours of Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, the movie 13 hours. So we were on the edge. Our UN base was attacked in South Sudan in a place called Malakal. And we did have martyred officers, warrant officers, and soldiers as well. And so this is a biopic which is coming on me. And John Abraham
So
plays my
you
role.
were there.
Yeah, I was there. So the movie is based on me and the operation here by my unit.
Wow.
So just telling the audience to just stay tuned for it. Will be coming
Where
in.
can they find it when it comes?
It's going to be coming in 2027. It's a Bollywood movie, so it's going to be released worldwide.
Okay, understand.
So I'll update you on that.
Okay, great. And maybe next time, in addition to the political situation between different countries, in our next interview, we can also talk about your experiences in combat.
Yes,
That
yes.
might be something the audience would be interested in.
Yes, I've had my podcast on beer biceps and everything. So yes, people have been really supportive, appreciative of my soldiers, my unit, and how they've contributed to the UN, and how we've contributed in combat for safeguarding our nation, and also in Kashmir. I was involved in counter-terrorism and counter-insurgency operations. So next, when you visit, we'll discuss that.
All right, thank you very
I'll
much.
tell you the essence and the core part of how we deal with all this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick.
It's been great.
Thank you. God bless.
You too.